Those are the people that do something with it. They have to create. It's almost like you create because you can't not. Create for No Reason is your weekly dose of inspiration to create what you believe should exist in the world. It's where passion meets craft, and we explore the joy of the creative process and building a meaningful body of work. I'm so excited about this episode because it's been over a year since I posted the last episode, which was Simple Mindset Shift That Will Enhance Your Life. It was episode number 103. And when I started the podcast, I was committed to doing at least 100 episodes. That was in my mind. That's what I really wanted to do. And then we got to 100 and it was over 100. And I took a little bit of a hiatus. There were some other projects that I was working on. I published my first book last year. I also started a new podcast for the business that I run. So I was doing that and obviously running the business. So there was a lot of things going on. And so I decided to take a little bit of a break from Create for No Reason. And then I was going to come back to it. But, life happens. And so it was kind of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, it's been a year since I've done anything with Create for No Reason. And so today I wanted to talk about a couple things. One, I want to talk about why I'm relaunching Create for No Reason and kind of what can you expect from the show. And I'm really excited about it. And then also I wanted to share some questions. If you have, I talk to a lot of people, they have a book inside of them they want to write, they have a podcast they want to create or a YouTube channel, and they have some type of creative pursuit that they are excited about. And some of these people, they've started it. Maybe you're dabbling in a project, right? Are you dabbling in writing a book or dabbling in starting your podcast, or you've been thinking about it for way too long and you haven't done anything with it? Or maybe you did have a podcast, or you did used to do videos, or you have 1 or 2 or 3 books in the works sitting in your computer and you just kind of have let them go and you don't really work on them that much anymore. Those creative projects that are lingering, that you're kind of into, but you also are not doing that much with. So I wanted to share 5 questions for you to consider to help you decide, should you relaunch something? These questions are also good for asking if you're thinking about starting a creative project or quitting a creative project. So I want to share these 5 questions to help push you in whatever creative direction or whatever creative phase you are in your life or in a specific project that you're working on. But before I do, let me just share a couple of reasons why I want to relaunch Create for No Reason. Part of it is because your creative pursuits are yours for a reason. They are inside of you. They are swirling around and they are pushing you to pursue them. They want to be fed. They want to give you the creativity that you need in order to make them happen. It's why you desire to do them. If you didn't have any desire to do them, like they wouldn't be keeping you up at night, that you wouldn't be thinking about them. You would be able to let them go. Because we've all had a creative project where we thought, oh, it might be fun to write a book. And then all of a sudden we're like, no, you know what? I don't want to do that. And that's kind of like gone and it's left you and you don't really think about it. But then there's other projects that really speak to us and call to us. And maybe it is writing poetry or pottery or art. I think a lot of us would love to be able to draw or create beautiful pictures. And some people, they love it so much that they actually want to pursue it. So they actually do something about it. Whereas it's a lot easier to not do something about it. But it's really for those that it is really meaningful and powerful and they think about it a lot. Those are the people that do something with it. They have to create. It's almost like you create because you can't not. And that's a powerful thing. So with the podcast, after about a year of not doing it, I kind of have always had it in the back of my mind. I want to do it again. I want to get back into it. And what really pushed me over the edge was when every time I would go onto the platform that I use to host the podcast, I would go on there to cancel my subscription. I'm like, why am I paying this subscription every month? I'm not going to do the show anymore. It's done. It's over. It's had its run. And I'm going to just cancel my subscription. And every time I would go to cancel it, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I don't know what it was. I would be thinking, okay, no, it's like I didn't want to kill it. I didn't want to not do it. And part of the reason was because I really love having these conversations about the creative process. I think it's really important. I think it's important work to have in the world for other people to be able to hear and listen to conversations from creators that are having the same challenges that you and I have when we're creating our work, which is we go through perfectionism and imposter syndrome and writer's block, even though some people say that's not really a thing. And we get analysis paralysis and overthink and all of the things that we really use as excuses to not create. We deal with those things. And when we can hear from other creators that have overcome that, or not only that have overcome it, but how did they overcome it? What are the things that they do every day? What are the habits that they have in place to help push them towards the direction of their creativity? And that's what I love having those conversations. And I want you to have those conversations. I want you to also have access to people that are doing really incredible work, that are creating bodies of work that they're proud of, because you want to create a body of work that you're proud of. That's why I wanted to continue to do the show, to bring you really interesting people. I want to have more guests come on and really just talk to creators that are passionate about creating an interesting body of work. And also those people that create because they can't not. Seriously, I love listening to comedians, and when they talk about giving advice to other aspiring comics, and they say, if you could do anything else, go do that, because comedy is hard, but it's almost, they have to do it. You have to do it. Writers say the same thing. Writers have to write. We just can't not. Even if you don't share your work, you just have to do it. And so that's why I'm doing the show. I hope you really enjoy it. I have some interesting guests coming on. I have lots of guests that are coming back to the show, just some really interesting conversations that I had with them. I want to get some updates on what's happening in their world and their life. In fact, I was chatting with a friend of mine the other day, and we had this whole conversation because he has a project that he's working on and he's completely procrastinating on. And we talked about why, like, what does that look like? What does procrastination look like for him versus what it looks like for me? And why do we procrastinate? And why do we say we want to do this work that we love, and then we also procrastinate on it? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. But hey, that's the creative process. I'm very excited to be back. I'm very excited to bring this kind of content back to you and see where we go with it. See what kind of a creative community that we can build with people like you that are doing work that you love. All right. So that's a little bit of an update about the podcast. I'm very excited about it. And I also wanted to share a couple questions with you that you can consider, whether you're thinking about relaunching a creative project or starting or even quitting a creative project, because that's another thing. Sometimes we quit. It's okay to quit a project. If you set out to have a podcast or a YouTube channel or something, and it just isn't what you thought it was going to be, and it just doesn't provide a lot of value to your life in the ways in which you thought it would, it's totally okay to quit. We just have to think through before we quit something. Like, are we quitting for the right reasons? Are we starting for the right reasons? And are we relaunching for the right reasons? So here are a couple questions for you to consider if you're in that phase of your creative project. So the first question, and I asked myself these questions too before I was relaunching Create for No Reason. Question number one, why do you want to do it? Why is this important to you? You have to really consider, why is this creative project important to me, and why do I want to do it? It kind of goes back to Simon Sinek's that start with why. We have to have the why, because we know that our creative work, whether you're writing a book, launching a podcast, learning guitar, playing piano, anything that you want to pursue, learning art or poetry or any type of craft, if you want to get better at your craft, then you need to know why you're doing it, because there's going to be challenging pieces that come along with doing that type of work. And so it's really important for us to understand the why. Why do you want to do it? A lot of people will say, if the only reason that you want to write a book or start a podcast is to make money, probably not a strong enough why, because probably going to take a lot longer than you actually think it's going to take in order for you to make money in certain endeavors. Now, for everyone, obviously, there are the outliers. So we have to have a strong enough why you want to do something. So journal about that, journal about the why you want to start this creative project. Number two, does it bring you more joy or more stress? Does it bring you more joy or more stress? This is a great question, because when it comes to our creativity, and so much of what this show is about is creating for the joy of it, if it's not bringing you joy, why are you doing it? Now, here's the big distinction between if you're doing it for business versus if it's for fun, right? Those are distinctions. If it's for your business and you have to do it, that's one thing. But if you're doing something because it's fun and joyful and you think it's work that needs to be out in the world, well, then this is a really important question to ask yourself. Is it causing you more stress or more joy? And the moment that it's causing you more stress, if it's a creative project that you're doing for fun, it might be time to reconsider how you're doing it. Maybe you don't have to quit it, but it's like, how can you bring more joy into the project or more joy back into the project? If it was something that you really did like. I'm part of this YouTube community, and it's so funny because lots of people are posting, and there always are people share their successes and journey and frustrations and challenges. And, there's always someone that will post, I've been doing this for 5 months and I finally got to 500 subscribers. And man, it's a grind. And, but it's funny because like they say it's a grind, but also they love it. They're having so much fun with the creative process and creating and learning and growing and developing in that area. They're learning new skills. And so they're still having a lot of joy in it. And so we have to be thinking about, obviously, our creative projects help us in so many ways, personally and professionally. We also just have to consider, are we more stressed, or is it bringing us more joy? And that obviously spins into the other prompt or question to consider, which is how can I bring more joy back into this project? Number 3, what would I do with my time instead? This is a really important one, especially for those of us that are very multi-passionate. We love doing lots of things. And you might be someone like me who has a lot of creative projects. If you want to do a lot of different things, well, think about, do you want to do all of these projects, or would it be better to just focus on one or two of them? When we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else. So if you're saying yes to 3 creative projects, what are you saying no to? That might actually be a better use of your time, whether it's another creative project or whether it's something in your business or something that you're going to be doing with your family or your friends. And so you have to really consider your time, because obviously we all don't have unlimited amounts of time. And so we have to be very cautious and discerning of how we spend our time. And so think about, what would you do instead? Because that kind of reframes it. Instead of saying, do I have enough time to do this? Okay, if I didn't do this, how would I use the time that I have? So that's a great question to consider. Number 4, what skills am I developing that support other areas of my life? This one's really big because when I think about creativity and the creative work that we do, a lot of times people will say, well, if you're doing a podcast or you're doing a YouTube channel, you should want to monetize it. It should be the only reason why you're doing it. Well, there's a lot of reasons to pursue our creativity. And while it's amazing and wonderful when somebody starts something and it ends up being lucrative down the line, that's amazing. That happens all the time. And that's awesome. There's also a lot to be said about starting something simply for the joy of it and the fun of it, and then kind of seeing what happens along the way. And you're developing so many incredible skills. If you're a podcaster, you're developing, well, obviously in lots of these things that I'm mentioning, because these are just some of the creative pursuits that I have, it's you're learning a lot of tech stuff. You're also, in podcasting, you're learning interview skills. You're learning how to reach out to people to get guests. You're learning better communication. You're learning what it takes to edit and put things together and ask great questions. Oh my gosh. And great questions is a really wonderful skill to have, especially if you're in the coaching industry, to have those questions in your back pocket, to have better conversations with people and your team and your clients. And so what skills are you developing in the creative projects that you're working on? Writing is a big one. When it comes to learning music, just the practice of discipline, anything that we can learn, any of these creative pursuits, the skills we learn just spill into other areas of our lives. They just do. And I don't think that we always give enough credit to our creativity and those pursuits that we have to spilling over into our professional life as well as in our family. We have richer conversations. You're also building skills in community and meeting new people and building those communities with like-minded people. So it's really a wonderful thing for us to give credit to the creative process and all that our creative pursuits do to enhance our life. And then number 5, how do I feel about no longer creating this project? How do you feel if you quit the project? What does that feel like? For example, for me, when I was thinking about, every time I went on to cancel my subscription for the podcast, I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I can't. It's too sad to let this go. I really did not want to let it go. And the thought of this content not being out into the world just broke my heart. And I just was so sad about it. And so I decided to continue to do it. So how would you feel if you decided, all right, I'm going to quit this project tomorrow? How would that make you feel? And that's something else to consider when you're thinking about relaunching or starting or quitting a project. So those are 5 questions for you to consider around your creative pursuits, what you're working on. I hope you found them helpful, and I hope they push you to make the decision that you need to make in whatever project that you're working on. And just a reminder that your creative pursuits are not a nicety. They are an essential part of becoming the best version of yourself. Feed them with love and the attention that they want, and what you will get out of it will be incredible. Thank you so much for listening. I'm very excited, as you can tell, to be relaunching Create for No Reason. I do hope you enjoyed these conversations. And if there are any topics or people that you would like to hear on the show, please connect with me. I would absolutely love to hear from you. You can connect with me over on all the socials. I tend to be most active on LinkedIn, and I do check my Instagram messages. And also you can email me directly at kate@katevolman.com. Thank you for listening. I'm very excited for us to be on this journey together. And until next time, go create something.